Alrighty, for today, I'm currently going to be teaching how to swing a longsword. The specific sword I have in my hands is called a German-style longsword because of the blade and the way the handle, the hilt, which is the handguard is hilt. Pommel is usually a weight counterbalance at the end of the handle of the sword. It can also be used for striking, and if it's unscrewable, it can be used as a throwing weapon, but I really advise against that. The handle is obviously the handle, and then the blade is the blade. The sword that I currently have in my hands weighs 3.6 pounds in freedom units. A normal average longsword would weigh about 2.6 to 3 pounds. Mine is abnormally heavy and has no counterbalance, but that's because I had to do a lot of the work on it myself. Most swords that you will buy will not be balanced like this. I am letting you know for future reference so that you can swing it with a little bit more caution when you inevitably, or if you want to, get yours. If you're watching this video, you better buy a sword. Buy a sword. The sword I'm currently holding is 47 inches long. So, it's a fairly long sword. Alright? At least I think it's 47. It's somewhere in that zone. Okay, so now onto the grips. When you are holding a longsword, the grip that you should be using is generally called a handshake grip. It gives you more control over your sword and more control over the positions that you put your sword in. That control lets you do fancier things. A hammer grip, which is this, is only very useful in cases where you're going for heavy, devastating strikes with very little grace to them. They will not be very smooth, but they will be very effective if you land them. Now, the most important thing about any sword blade is your footwork. Unfortunately, I can't really show footwork here because my Galaxy Note 7 is haphazardly propped up on a greatsword handle, so can't really do much about that, but I'm sure you'll find someone on YouTube. Right? So now that you've gotten that down, just remember, handshake grip for better control and precise cutting. Swords are incredibly good at cutting. A simple tap is usually enough to cut someone. Be careful if you get a sharp sword. Mine is completely dull. This is for training purposes. Do not hurt yourself, please. Right. So, now that you have that down, note where your arms should be placed. Your non-dominant hand should be at the bottom of the sword handle near the pommel. Pommel being this part, this section of the sword, usually made out of metal as a counterbalance to bring the sword balance towards the hilt for better stabbing. It makes it a more balanced weapon. Mine is more of a cleaving weapon, but that's just how that goes. Whew. So, dominant hand up top, non-dominant hand on bottom. If you're left-handed, it would be like this. So, now that you have that basic stuff down, let's go into the very basic swings that you should learn. Start with diagonal strikes. It seems simple at first, but you want to work on edge alignment. If you can, get one of those massive rolls of paper, hang it up somewhere, and just swing. You don't need a sharp sword for that, it will cut. If you have bad edge alignment, the paper will tear. If you have good edge alignment, the paper will cut. So, diagonal swings, they are more important than any other swing you could be doing when you're initially practicing. It will teach you all you need to know. When you do horizontal swings, that's when you're moving upwards. You start with diagonal, okay? Do not do anything beyond this at the start. Just get this down within like your first 100 swings and you should be good to move on to other ones. Next up, horizontal swings. They are very important, but if you do them incorrectly, you leave yourself exposed to counterattacks. So if I do a diagonal swing, I'm not really all that exposed because my sword is in front of me. But if I do a horizontal swing, my entire side is completely exposed. You don't want that. as you can probably guess. Right? Diagonal swings first. Get good with this, and then move upwards. Horizontal next, you want to chain them with diagonal swings. Diagonal upward cuts work just as well as diagonal lower cuts. Upward, well, I just goofed that one. Upward, lower. Okay, so that is all I'm going to be teaching for today. I hope this helps anyone that wants to learn.